אפשר להיכנס
היה מישהו שם.
היחסים בסדר? כי אני רואה, הדלת היא לא בדיוק דלת...
לא, יחסים סבבה.
כן?
כן. לא החלפנו שום דבר כי עד שלא היה פסק דין, אבל עוד מעט נחליף.
מה תחליפו את הדלת?
את הכל, כן, מה שצריך.
This is the entrance to the ground floor of the Little Petra Inn, the annex to the historic Petra Hotel built during the 19th century on the entrance to the old city of Jerusalem. Jewish Hateret Kohanim activists got a foot in the door in March. The room being unoccupied, an eviction order wasn't necessary.
Once upon a time, this was a kosher hotel. The Jews were driven out of here. There were pogroms and riots. The Greek Orthodox Church had it for a number of years. And now it'll be Jewish concerns who bring it back, hopefully to its previous glory.
In June, following an 18-year legal battle, Israel's High Court upheld a lower court's decision from 2 years back that sanctioned the transfer of leasehold rights to both the Petra and the adjacent Imperial Hotels to the right-wing Jewish group Hateret Kohanim. The verdict dealt a final legal blow to the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate's efforts to fight the 2004 sale of leases.
There was an attempt to obtain a very rare legal procedure, basically a civil retrial, but there is a strong political dimension.
Property transactions in Jerusalem's old city are indeed some of the most politically fraught in the world.
You have the mutually incompatible narratives of three contradictory faiths inhabiting the same sacred and secular space in 1 square kilometer. In the United States, they have malls with more floor space than 1 square kilometer.
The Supreme Court acknowledged, quote, shadows and black holes in the moves that led to the signing of the agreements, unquote.
When you get into the convoluted transactions between Greeks and settlers, you never come away knowing who's telling the truth and who's lying. It might be a fair bet that at certain times it's everybody. It appears that this was a rogue individual in the church that did not have the authority to sell the settlers.
The presumed rogue individual was Nicholas Papademos, the church's chief finance officer, who in 2004 had obtained power of attorney from then Patriarch Irenaeus I and was behind the sale of leases to front companies based in the Virgin Islands.
They didn't have the approval from the synod because we have this synod system, so whatever we do, we decide together.
The battle is not yet over. A Palestinian Muslim is the protected tenant appointed by the church at the Imperial Hotel, whom Hateret Kohanim is trying to evict.
And I said, God, you and I alone, keep an eye on me. Protect me from these people and keep the hotel in the hands of churches.
There's the issue of the management company, of those who are inside the hotels. What type of status do they have? So because it's still in court, it's not appropriate at all for me to talk about it.
The three central characters in this legal, political and religious battle, we shall call them the tenant, the activist and the priest, live parallel lives with opposite expectations, pretty much like the fragile cohabitation between Muslims, Jews and Christians in Jerusalem. Their paths only intersect in court.
I'm concerned about one thing. I'm concerned about the fact...
As you enter the Imperial Hotel, you're first greeted by His Beatitude, Theophilus III, 141st Patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Church of Jerusalem. Then by the manager of the property.
Moi, j'ai trois choses dans l'amour dans ma vie. La langue française, la famille, et l'hôtel.
Abu al-Walid Dajani, a Palestinian Muslim, is the second-generation scion of protected tenants who leased this 19th century edifice for a renewable 99 years.
This is the contract between us and the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate. My signature, my brother's signature, and the signature of the Director of Finance in the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate. Our relations started in 1949. His beatitude is a very close friend of mine. When I came to greet him, he opened his arms and he said, Mr. Dajani, you are the guardian of Jaffa Gate. And I start crying. I'm being honored to carry this title to keep the property to the Greek Orthodox Church. These two buildings, they are located on Jaffa Gate, which is the main entrance to the old city. All the other Christian denominations, they have their headquarters within the vicinity of this hotel. So can you imagine if this goes in the hands of these radical group? My property was given away for $1,250,000. Can you imagine such a property, a strategic location that 1,800 square meters, 44 rooms could be given away for 98 years and renewable for another 90 years with this small amount of money. I'm angry against also the director of the finance department who made this deal. The name of the man was Nicholas Papadimas. First, what we heard is that he ran away to Brazil for a while. These radical groups promised him lots of money, bribing. He came back to Israel now and he was looking for his monies. Irenaeus 3 years ago left and went back to Greece. He stepped down from the Patriarchate and for almost 15 years he stayed in a room. What a shame. This is the power of attorney that he gave to the director of the finance department. All these documents has been signed by Richards Marketing Corporation. Why they should go to the Virgin Islands to evict us from the Imperial Hotel. This is the contract, lease agreement, August 16th, 2004. They have submitted 800 pages that I don't have the right to stay in the hotel. I do have a contract, a valid contract from the church. Now I'm paying the rent in court for Ateret Kohanim because if I don't pay the rent, I will be evicted. This is my granddaughter who is going to fight the case forever.
Inshallah.
Ateret Kohanim, let them know, the whole world, that this is the coming generation. She's going to study and become a lawyer, and she will continue and carry this case. Now, the eyes of the world, the eyes of the leaders of the world, the eyes of all those people who love Jerusalem, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, they have an eye on Jaffa Gate, and they have an eye on the Israeli government. They have an eye now on the verdict. Close the Holy Sepulchre, put pressure on the Israeli government. Solve this problem.
Apropos exerting pressure on Israel, noticeably, there's been no Palestinian mobilization against the risk of eviction, as in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in East Jerusalem.
They keep a low profile. They keep a low profile.
The Palestinian Authority.
Yes. Because the Israelis, they are absolutely angry and disappointed if you come up with the problem of the Palestinian Authority in Jerusalem. So you have to play it smart.
We follow Mr. Dajani to the rooftop, a hotel with a view with a pious image of tolerance. Tolerance called comfort for a 78-year-old man whose entire life has been committed to tending the edifice of the Patriarchate.
Say, Jerusalem is for everybody. Let us be honest about this and let everybody live in peace, irrespective of their religion.
General Archbishop Aristachos of Constantina, elder secretary of the Greek Orthodox Church of Jerusalem, heads the procession. A procession which conjures up some sort of solemn quest for the confirmation that not all is lost in the battle surrounding the fate of the two hotels on Jaffa Gate, a walking distance from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Petra and Imperial are our main priority, because if we lose Petra, you can see, we lose Jaffa Gate, we lose our entrance.
The Archbishop enters the holiest shrine in Christianity, which according to tradition is the seat of crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. But in spite of their impeccable poise, he who's assigned to conduct the Sunday Mass, and his fellow officiants are concerned that the equities of the Christians and Muslims in the Old City are being marginalized, diluted, in ways that's changing the character of Jerusalem. Father Matthios, dragoman or interpreter of the church, is entrusted with ensuring that the faithful of all Christian denominations share the shrine in the most respectful manner and to say as little as possible.
Because it's a sensitive matter right now, so I should not talk about it. We are very careful right now with which people we're talking and how we're dealing. And
the Patriarchate holds an estimated 20% of the land in the whole city. But it has little cash income to pay for educational institutions, which the dragoman is in charge of, and for the upkeep of its many churches and monasteries in the Holy Land, which could explain the selling of leasehold property.
Christian communities are shrinking because Christians are in the middle of a conflict between Israel and Muslims. And they're trying to find their identity. And the truth is that our religion is our identity.
They see themselves as the living stones of the faith.
The drive is religious. We don't have actually any problem with the state of Israel. And we just have a problem with these radicals. These organizations, they're not just fighting against or trying to take properties from Christians. They're taking properties from Muslims also. Take over the whole city.
What starts in Jaffa Gate doesn't end in Jaffa Gate, the Patriarchate warns.
This is not the last chapter, but we'll try other ways also.
Like diplomatic pressure?
Maybe, I don't know.
Primus inter pares, first amongst equals, the Greek consulate in Jerusalem. It expresses Athens' deep concern about Israel's High Court verdict. So, in solidarity and coordination with the Patriarchate, the Greek consul and his wife attend Sunday Mass.
So we are here, we are international. So everybody's coming, visiting, ambassadors. So we actually are not a threat to Israel. And that's that they don't understand. Our properties will stay here, even after us.
Meanwhile, they may find solace in the immutable cycle of living the life of faith.
And this is all about Jewish presence, about Jews basically having the right to live anywhere. If an Arab wants to sell, why shouldn't a Jew be able to buy?
Once a week, Daniel Luria takes a group of Jewish tourists and shows them the revival of the Jewish presence in the Old City. That's the motive behind the acquisition of both the Petra and the Imperial Hotels.
Why is the world going crazy about the hotels? People are writing that you're kicking out the Christians? No one's kicking out anyone. When an Arab buys a home from a Jew, he's not kicking out the Jew. It's real estate. He's buying a house. We managed to acquire two very big hotels, or facilitate the acquisitions of two very big hotels at the Jaffa Gate. One of those hotels was a kosher Jewish hotel. It was built and owned by the Amdursky. Before that, a Gibraltar Jew by the name of Amslak in 1820. In between, there was the Greek Orthodox Church. Okay, but now it's back in Jewish hands. But the world jumping up and down, you know what it smells to me like when I hear things like that? Yud and Ryan. The Jews have no right to live in certain areas.
This Jewish revival endeavor doesn't stop at the Christian quarter. The big prize is what Daniel Luria brands as the Old Jewish Quarter.
Today there's 1,000 Jews living in the Old Jewish Quarter. There's 90 families, there's 4 yeshivas in what is today called the Muslim Quarter.
All around, security abounds, a fact that Daniel Luria doesn't hide. The opposite, in fact.
There's 300 cameras looking at wherever we're going. Someone's been taken home, front and back, right? Parents don't want them walking alone, so front and back, right? Right, he's come from the Rova, wherever he's come from, and security guards backwards and forwards, taking families they need to go.
He explains the role of the organization he helps lead in acquiring Palestinian properties.
We don't just dump a family and say goodbye. We're involved security-wise, we're involved renovation-wise. So remember, there's two aspects. There's the acquisition, someone, and then there's various projects. And the people who own it will get a little bit of the rent, so to speak, together with Ateret Kohanim. But it's the standard building in relation to, families, courtyard, security cameras, and a rooftop playground, because kids don't play in the streets yet. Eventually, there were half a dozen Arab families living here. We had the right person at the right time, without going into details about the middlemen, as you know, that we have to use. And we ended up buying this place, and about 6 months ago, we finished off the building, and now there's 5 families living in the complex. You drove away one family, we'll add 5. This was the response to the murder of Rabbi Nehemiah Levi and the driving out of one Jewish family. If you want real security, double and triple the Jewish presence. Summary of Ateret Kohanim. Destruction, Jews were there, destruction, and we're back home.
There's still Palestinians living on the first floor here.
I don't know about Palestinians. I don't know about Palestinians. There are Arabs living here. There are Arabs living here, for sure.
And the relation is good between them, the neighbors.
It's quiet, yes. It's what you call civil.
So we went to check for ourselves.
אנחנו ערוץ ה-24. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez? Filmer un peu dans la Yeshiva, si c'est possible.
Il va falloir l'autorisation pour ça.
We quickly obtained it. A Palestinian family indeed lives on the first floor.
Bytech.
On the upper floor is the renowned Ateret Jerusalem Talmudic Studies Center. Rabbi Shlomo Aviner has been heading the yeshiva for the past 39 years.
Et nous sommes revenus dans ce bâtiment. Ce bâtiment a été créé il y a plus de 100 ans. À la guerre d'indépendance, les Juifs ont été chassés de secteurs de la vieille ville. Et après la guerre des 6 jours, nous sommes revenus ici. Tout était presque intact, sauf qu'il y avait de la poussière grise, 10 cm ou 20 cm, comme de la neige. C'est la Yeshiva, ça fait 100 ans.
The Ateret Jerusalem Yeshiva stands on its own. As far as Old City's real estate is concerned, some sort of miracle, says Rabbi Aviner. For in 1948, most Jewish properties there were ransacked or occupied by Palestinians.
Un troisième rabbin, l'arabe, qui habitait en dessous, c'est ce qu'on appelle un juste parmi les nations. Tous les livres, il les a cachés, il a fermé à clé. Chaque fois que les Arabes venaient piller, il disait « c'est à moi ». Et après la guerre des 6 jours, il est venu chez le gouverneur de Jérusalem, qui s'appelait Herzog, et lui a dit « c'est la clé, c'est à vous ». Alors il y a des justes sur terre.
The 79-year-old rabbi leads us to the rooftop. The view is stunning. It's midday. The Muslim call for prayer emanating from the noble sanctuary or Temple Mount echoes all over the old city. It's also time for the Jewish prayer. A silent one.
That's the entrance to Har HaBayit.
In the Muslim quarter, the Iron Gate is one of 12 leading to Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, Judaism's holiest shrine, but also the noble sanctuary or Haram al-Sharif, Islam's third holiest shrine.
Basically, Christians and Jews are not permitted to go on. They're here to make sure that only Muslims go on. It's very important that you know that this is not Ateret Kohanim. It's a separate thing from Ateret Kohanim.
The consolation prize is the Little Western Wall, a continuation of the Kotel, site of all Jewish prayers, probably the closest place on earth to the Holy of Holies, which, according to Jewish tradition, housed the Ark of the Covenant.
Beit מאוד יפה. Yeah, Mamlukai. The issue of the temple relates to God's realm. Even though every Jew who prays for the temple. I want the temple today. I want the Mashiach today. But there's another reality today. So it's at the moment it stays as a prayer and a dream. But it's a prayer that we believe will be fulfilled because there will be a temple. But that's one of the later stages of the whole process of redemption. What I just said now is talking about praying about the temple. I never talk about praying on Temple Mount. Today's reality is that Abd el-Malik built a mosque there, and one has to understand and accept that reality.
Everything will eventually fall into place in the world according to Ateret Kohanim.
So you're basically into real estate?
Yes, not basically, we are. This is the most important Jewish holy real estate that exists. So maybe we're real estate agents with a twist, because it's not regular real estate. This is ideological real estate. Jews want to be close to the Temple Mount, want to be in the Old City, want to be close to the heart of Jerusalem. It's part of an obvious and normal phase in the overall Zionist dream.
Again, for the Greek Orthodox Church, this is a symbol because this is the way of the pilgrims.
Well, I guess they shouldn't have sold.
Holy Sepulchre.
But they sold.
Well, there's a disagreement.
No, there's no disagreement. The courts,
amongst them there is a disagreement.
That's because maybe there were some people that did or didn't know about the deal, but they sold, and it's been ratified. That story is over. There's no use talking about it anymore. It's finished. It's gone.
Pierre Klochendler, I-24 News, Jerusalem.